What's up, guys? I'm going to be doing live streams. I'm going to be doing this more often, and I'm going to actually announce it.
Nice. Hey, do you mind if I share this live stream on like my social or anything like that?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Don't mind? Cool.
Because when you present this argument, man, this is why people have distinct.
Did Bongo the chimp share his banana with another chimp? Is that what you mean by morality? Okay.
I mean, does a snake talk?
Well, I mean, if evolution's true and we all came from a single cell, technically, isn't that pond scum that we come from?
All right, what's up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you godless bastards, as I drop my lighter to begin the show. What's up, y'all? Good morning. Again, an earlier show. I want to get it over with today. I have work tonight for the first time in quite a while. I'm actually excited to go to work. It's only going to be for a few hours. I'll get another few hours on Sunday. But I'm excited. And I'm also excited because I think it's the end of Trumpism, and we're going to get into all of that. And I'm really hoping, beyond hope, that this will be the last time I talk about Donald Trump on this channel. But John's here. What's up, John?
Yeah, Stupid Horn Energy says that she was going to go to work, but then she got high. And
I go to work high.
I also just want to point out once again how out of pocket fucking YouTube is. Ronan Kanushi said, "Hi, Stupid Horror Energy," and that got held for review.
Stupid Horror's energy is just too
much for YouTube.
Too edgelord for YouTube, yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, it's the end of him. Now, like any rational human being, well, first of all, any rational human being would have conceded 2 months ago. Any rational human being after the response to what Trump did yesterday, day before yesterday, would have resigned by now in those 2 days. But it looks like that the Congress is going to have to act, or the cabinet is going to have to act to get him out of there. But yeah, he needs to come out now. A lot of people on both sides of the aisle have come out and said that. And it's the end of him one way or the other, whether he wakes up and resigns and just, slinks off, or if Congress has to do something. Even though he gave that concession speech yesterday, you'll notice when we show it, it's all chopped up because there's jump cuts and stuff, because I'm certain of it. He said some crazy shit that, more rational minds cut out of that speech. And he, says, okay, yeah, transition of power, we're going to, he didn't mention Joe's name, but new administration on the 20th. But if they...
Yeah, we're going to get there, John. We're going to get there.
Yeah. But if they impeach him, we still might get that footage of him being dragged out of the White House, because he still might resist that.
Maybe. I do think that the writing's on the wall. But when I say the end of Trump, I mean... this could be the very end of Trumpism itself. And what do I mean by that? And people are going to be like, Nakasuchi, you're crazy. Of course, these crazy people aren't going to just stop believing the things that they stop believing. No, they're not. And honestly, they've believed these things for a very long time. This is nothing new. The Tea Party was the first to really kind of market that. And then Trump came along and took it over. And what he did was he pushed all the Tea Party people out. And replaced them with loyalists to him. So he took over that movement. But now Trump is done. There's good indication that next week he will be impeached again. And there's good indication from what I'm hearing. Now, we'll see what the future brings. We'll see what next week brings. There's good indication that the Congress is going to convict. And we're going to look at it today. We're going to go through a lot of this. We're going to be looking at a lot of stuff. Again, I'm hoping this is the last time, but we're going to start with it all. So first, John, we're going to start with Don Jr. So let me get over here. Let me put him up. This was the day of the protest. Now, I want to get something straight. So I'm going to have a conversation tomorrow with CJ Cox, and it's going to be heated. I'm going to see if I can't stream it to this channel. Right now, it's on his channel. I'm not sure what time, but I'm going to see if I can't stream it to this channel at the same time through my OBS. We'll see. Because I'm pissed. And John, I know you've seen some of his posts. And he's been going kind of crazy for the last couple months, really kind of showing himself to be a right-wing extremist, in my opinion. And he's been equating what went on 2 days ago with what went on during the summer with the Black Lives Matter protest. Now, my position, and I think anybody that understands these things fundamentally, is that even the riots, even the worst riots during the Black Lives Matter protest is quite different than what we saw 2 days ago at the state capitol. Quite different. You know, one's a riot, the other's insurrection. Very, very, very different things. And the other's insurrection pretty much ordered by a president of the United States who just lost and wants to keep power. Those are very, very different things, very, very different dynamics. You cannot equate the two no matter how hard you try, right? So me and CJ are going to be getting into it over that tomorrow. And I already told him I'm bringing rage because I'm pissed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did see some of the, because as we've experienced, he's pretty reasonable and rational when we get him live, but on social media, he's off the deep end most of the time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to let him calm me down here. I mean, the things that he's been posting, and he's trying to back away. Oh, I've denounced them. Well, I haven't seen that, for one. But even so, you're still sitting here equating them to Black Lives Matter. When the first time I ever met you, we had a conversation about how you didn't want to tear down Confederate statues. Now, I have to put the pieces together. I'm seeing racism. I'm seeing somebody who has learned how to articulate his racism in a way that people won't call him a racist. And it's time for that to stop.
Yeah, I mean, and he, I'm sure, as a matter of fact, from some of his posts, you can infer that he is of the same mind that a lot of the crazy, you got my avatar now. I'm sure he is buying into the whole, well, that was Antifa and that was Black Lives Matter that did that at the Capitol, the weak ass shit. The other thing is even if you were to compare the incidents one for one as to what happened, like you want to say, okay, there were some riots where a police building was burned down or whatever, something like that. But even if you compare it one to one, like as you said, there's no comparison in the acts. Okay, so this was pure insurrection, and like you said, instigated by our very president. And
and John, me and you are very consistent. We were sitting here during those riots in support of Black Lives Matter, but calling out the criminals taking advantage of it, whether they be right-wing agitators and Antifa, whoever. If they were committing violent crimes, we were very consistent in condemning that. Because we're not partisan fucks, and we're consistent.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, the other thing that's going around is, it was Antifa, it was this, it was that. And I'm sure this is another thing that CJ is buying into as a, diehard right-wing racist Trumper, is that after Trump put his concession speech out, there's a lot of Trumpers that are going around saying, he never said the words, he actually conceded. He never said it was going to be Joe Biden that was the new administration on the 20th. So a lot of these diehards are actually hanging on to the idea that it's not over yet.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk about all of that once we get there, John. Because I've got his concession speech, and I have a lot to say. I was watching Brian Craig, I think his name is, this morning. He's a right-wing radio guy that's on YouTube. And yeah, they're still in support. I have questions. I don't understand it, but I think it's because they think that, once again, Donald Trump is playing chess here when he's literally trying to save his ass. But I do want to start. So this is Donald Trump Jr. at the protest before the riots started. before the insurrection started, before Trump took the stage and initiated the insurrection. Now, I'm going to look at that too. I'm going to show you that. I had to put it through Premiere because for some reason Trump's speech was way lower than Don Jr.'s speech here, even though it's the same video. But the Trump videos on YouTube always seem to be really, really shitty quality because they don't have, most of the major news aren't recording them anymore, so they got to do it themselves, right?
Well,
so,
I mean, most of Trump's speeches are shitty quality in a number of fashions.
Yeah, in a number of fashions. But so I had to put that through Premiere. I had to turn up the audio gain like 15 fucking points. It was insane how low it was. But it should be nice and clear now once we get there. But we're going to look just at a little bit of Don Jr. But go ahead, John.
No, all I was going to say is one of the reasons might be, you know, he was probably, when he recorded the concession speech, he was probably nervous over the 25 M16s pointed at his head from off camera.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not talking about the concession speech.
Oh, you're talking about when he talked to the crowd. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna get to Don Jr. All right, so listen, and we're not gonna watch too much of this.
Of our values that we
See, that's a bit low. That's a bit low too.
I can't even see it or hear it.
Yeah, that's because I got to put it on the screen. But this is gonna be a bit low too. Should have probably ran this through Premiere, but as low as this is. I just told you I turned it up 15 points for Donald Trump. So just imagine how low Donald Trump was.
You guys are part of that movement. So stay in this fight. Stay loud. Don't be suppressed. Don't be put in your corner. Don't let them cancel you. Trust me, I've been canceled 17 times since I started this speech. I promise you. Once it happens, it's rather freeing. And you can kind of do what you want. Don't let them do it to you. Stand up and fight. Stand up and hold your representatives accountable.
Don't let them do this to you. Stand up and fight. Now, this is the son of the sitting president of the United States encouraging thousands of people. Now, whether or not I agree with or disagree with their stupid protest, because I think it's ridiculous to protest that you lost an election without evidence of the voter fraud and none of that. But that part of it is First Amendment rights. And whether I think it's stupid or not, I understand that they are utilizing constitutional rights guaranteed to them by the Constitution of the United States. The last thing you want to do in that situation, when the topic is political, you're in the nation's capital, as leadership, is stir that up. Now, that's the last thing you want to do if you don't want people storming the Capitol, right? That's what you do. You like, hey guys, you come out, you're like, yeah, I've been perpetuating this for a month, but we're going to be peaceful. That's what Donald Trump should be saying. Donald Trump Jr. right here should be saying. But he's not saying that. He's saying fight. Don't let them take this from you. Fight. That's what he's saying.
You got to take that off.
Oh, yeah. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so look, and here it is what Don is doing and what Trump is doing, and they failed at covering their own ass. But like he's using polysemous terminology because, of course, stand up and fight could mean hey don't give up your rights, fight, figuratively fight to keep your rights. I mean, but we all know that what he really meant was after, like you said, after the months of Trump, stoking the fire, he knew what he was saying when he said, stand up and fight. Also, I'm real surprised that he quoted Patrick Swayze in his speech and, telling him, baby, don't let them put you in the corner. I guess he didn't say baby, but, it's that's why I think there are so many people that are still blinded by this, okay? Because one thing you have to say about Donald Trump and his family, they know how to put a message out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And it's a horrible message, but they know the nuance of communication. They know the nuances of marketing.
It's how he rebuilt his fortune after he lost everything back in the 80s.
Well, right, and it's it's just unfortunate that they're so good at this. I mean, when Donald Trump decided he was going to run for office, you notice he really was not like a traditional politician. He was running it like, he was advertising a new reality show, as if he was advertising a new business of his, branding, I mean, and for the most part, not that they do it like Trump, like the Republicans are much better at that than Democrats are. And then Trump just took it to a whole new level, and they're still doing it up until yesterday. And the funny thing is, even in that concession speech, he was still doing it. Okay, I mean, he conceded, but he was still using all those, little tricks of communication that he's been using all along, even in that concession speech.
Well, yeah, and Don Jr., I'm not going to show that. I just wanted to show what I was kind of talking about yesterday. He would go on to lead a chant about, stand up and fight, so he really riled them up. And then a half an hour later or so, Daddy comes on. And Daddy talks to the crowd for about an hour, John. I don't know if you saw any of it. You probably heard about the end of it, where and that's what I'm going to focus on. Because the end of it is what needs to be remembered. The end of it, somebody in the chat was exactly right. It's hard to prove treason. Now, they're going to be launching a probe because there does seem to be some indication that Capitol Police were told to stand down. They're going to be launching a probe into all of these events, and I think that should happen. But it's very hard to prove treason. Not so hard to prove inciting a riot, right? So that's why this speech, this rally before this act of insurrection began, why it needs to be remembered. Why Trump's words need to be remembered, because he's already trying to weasel his way out of it. He's throwing his supporters under the bus. Although, as you said, that concession thing yesterday was extremely cut. So he probably said a bunch of crazy shit.
Well, I mean, and not even the parts that they cut. Even the parts few of the parts they let through, he was still coddling those.
But what they did put out did throw his supporters under the bus, right? So,
yeah. But the thing is like, you might be right. It's be hard to prove treason, but I think there's a pretty damn good case for sedition.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, inciting sedition, inciting insurrection.
And the other thing is of course, when it comes to impeachment, they don't even have to prove sedition; they have to prove high crimes and misdemeanors.
Oh yeah, and it looks like he's. I mean, and we'll talk about all that at the end, because even the diehards are leaving now, so he's alone. He's alone.
Lindsey Graham flamed him and threw him under the bus without a doubt, while still trying to hang on to some of his influence in the party. It was all self-motivated, but he did throw Trump under the bus. And I want people to understand too, as we talk about this and talk about it, throughout the broadcast, that you might say, well, why, dude's gone in 2 weeks, why, or less than 2 weeks, why impeach him? The reason we need to impeach him is that once you are impeached and removed from office, you cannot run for public office again. Mm-hmm. If they remove him with the 25th Amendment, he could run again in 4 years.
And Otangelo Grasso, I would have agreed with you last week. I would have. But actually, it's based on what John just said, think about it. All right. So Mike Pence wants to run for president. Hawley, the guy that was in the Senate that started this whole, I'm going to stand with Trump, he wants to run for president in 2024. Do you think they want to go against Donald Trump? No. Especially after what they saw Trump's power is over these people? No. No. I think it's almost a probability at this point that this man will be removed before the 20th. A probability. One way or the other. The 25th or impeachment. A high probability at this point that this man will be removed from office. So let's get to the actual inciting, right? You hear a lot of claims. I've made the claim. I made the claim yesterday. I saw him do it. So,
see, and real quick before you go on, the other thing is that backs up what Knock is saying. Okay, these Republicans, and again, most of them that have come out in the last 2 days and distance themselves, that's self-preservation. Okay, I mean, sure, there's probably still part of them that, yeah, boy, this ain't right. What happened? But the biggest motivating factor is if they let this stand, if they co-sign this shit, then when it's the other party doing it, which I don't think it would happen, but if, if this becomes normalized, what happened, and they don't quash it, then the same thing could happen to them when they were in office. It could be, thousands of left-wingers storming the Capitol, so they have to quash this, nip it in the bud, make it known in no uncertain terms that this was insurrection, because it can't ever happen again.
Otangelo, I personally do not think that Trump, even before all this shit happened, would have been reelected. For one, he's way super old. There's a good chance he wouldn't even be alive in 4 years. But for two, we've seen the mental decline. No, what I'm thinking is the legacy, right? The Trump name, Don Jr., who is an idiot, should never be president. These idiots will put into office. Ivanka Trump, who isn't an idiot, probably evil to the very core of her, should not ever be president. So that's what I'm talking about here, is legacy, movement, the end of Trumpism. So these people aren't going to stop just believing what they believe. But what we need to combat what they believe is the Republicans agreeing with us that they're wrong. And we haven't had that yet. Now we're starting to get that. So once we have that old Republican Party trying to make it an old Republican Party again, completely hypocritical, we see you guys for what you are. It's gonna be some hard sledding for them to do that. But now we can actually combat this false narrative that so many people actually believe, because they're not going to believe us when we say it. They're just not.
The other thing too is that you got to fucking pound Trump into the fucking ground, get rid of him, because Don Jr. could still run in 4 years.
Oh yeah, and Ivanka is the one I'm really worried about, honestly.
And then Otangelo Grasshole, is not really Otangelo.
Yeah, that's not the real Otangelo.
Yeah, and so Otangelo Grasshole, I'm calling BS on the fact that you voted for Trump.
Thank you, Jeremy Pace, for your $5 donation. Lock them up. Thank you, Jeremy Pace. All right, so we're going to get into this insurrection, John. I'm going to turn this on now. Let's see. This is about 3 minutes and 39 seconds long. I did cut it. I wanted you to hear that he was perpetuating the election fraud myth, and then I wanted you to hear the very end. So,
that's me. Yeah, you can just.
All right. Gotta love the YouTubes. All right, here we go.
And fraud breaks up everything, doesn't it? When you catch somebody in a fraud, you're allowed to go by very different rules. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do. And I hope he doesn't listen to the rhinos and the stupid people that he's listening to. It is also widely understood that the voter rolls are crammed full of non-citizens, felons, and people who have moved out of state, and individuals who are otherwise ineligible to vote. Yet Democrats oppose every effort to clean up their voter rolls. They don't want to clean them up. They're loaded. And how many people here know other people that when the hundreds of thousands and then millions of ballots got sent out, got 3, 4, 5, 6, and I heard one who got 7 ballots. And then they say, you didn't quite make it, sir. We won in a landslide. This was a landslide. They said it's not American to challenge the election. This is the most corrupt election in the history, maybe of the world. You could go third world countries, but I don't think they had hundreds of thousands of votes.
So literally, like, Putin has people murdered. Like this is the most corrupt election in the world. I don't think anybody's ever. Not literally. Your homeboy Putin has people murdered, and then gets like a 91% victory just to make it look like a couple people voted against him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and there he is. Okay, he's standing. I guess this happened like a mile from the Capitol.
Yeah.
And so there he is standing in front of the violently fomented crowd that he has constructed in his rhetoric over the last couple of months. He's standing in front of them and still repeating all the lies he's been repeating for the last 2 months. And make no mistake about it, he knows he is lying to everybody.
Yeah.
He knows damn well that he lost fair and square, but he's just too narcissistic to admit it.
Well, there is reports from people that are super close to him is that he's mentally ill and he actually believes all of this shit. Like, he's talked himself into believing it. And that's why they're talking about the 25th Amendment. Now, I don't think the 25th Amendment's going to happen, because if that was going to happen, we wouldn't have secretaries resigning, right? They would be getting rid of him, but they're resigning. So I think it's going to fall on impeachment. But he's mentally ill. Like, the people close to him are saying, no, he actually thinks that he was cheated here.
Well, and either way, I mean, here he is in front of this crowd, still stoking the fire, talking about election fraud, talking about corruption, still claiming, declaring victory that he actually won, and he doesn't even, well, no, and he knows this too, because he said it himself when he was running, or shortly after he was elected. He knows that a lot of the people that follow him aren't, necessarily the most, mentally stable people, some of them. Okay. So he even said, I love stupid people, or whatever it was he had said, way back in the
well, he famously said, Democrats would never vote for me. Republicans are stupid and will, or some shit like that.
Yeah. And so, this idea, that afterwards he backs up and he's shitting his pants and, well, this isn't what I wanted. Bullshit.
Well, yeah, and you saw that yesterday, when he's trying to take credit for calling in the National Guard. No, that was the mayor of D.C. and Nancy Pelosi that did that, and that's why it took them hours to get there. Right?
He said shortly, we'll see it in a little bit. Yeah, shortly into it, he said, and that's why I immediately called out the National Guard. No, you didn't, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and we will get there. So I'm going to go ahead and play it again, John. So he'll talk about the election a little bit more, and then it's going to jump to the end. All right. So I want to get to that end. I'm probably going to just let it play to the end on this one.
That's what I said before I muted my phone.
All right. So I'm going to let it go.
And they don't have voters for them. I mean, no matter where you go, nobody would think this. In fact, it's so egregious, it's so bad that a lot of people don't even believe it. It's so crazy that people don't even believe it. It can't be true.
Again, the quality's shitty because
this is not just a matter
it's their
of
shitty quality.
Politics. This is a matter of national security. So today, in addition to challenging the certification of the election, I'm calling on Congress and the state legislatures to quickly pass sweeping election reforms, and you better do it before we have no country left. Our brightest days are before us. Our greatest achievements still wait. I think one of our great achievements will be election security, because nobody until I came along had any idea how corrupt our elections were. And again, most people would stand there at 9 o'clock in the evening and say, I want to thank you very much. And they go off to some other life. But I said, something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell.
Oh, my God.
If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Our exciting adventures.
Real quick, John, we got to address what Stephanie. I hope you're joking, Stephanie. All right, let's go.
And boldest endeavors have not yet begun. My fellow Americans, for our movement, for our children, and for our beloved country. And I say this, despite all that's happened, the best is yet to come. So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give. The Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything. Not even one vote. but we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is
Yeah, I mean, and real quick, I got to take that off the screen. Yeah, before we talk about what he just said, yeah. And then Stephanie goes on to say, that's a hologram. Like, what's a hologram? Is that like something that Gwen Stefani invented? A hologram?
Yeah, that's just crazy, Stephanie. All right, so no, he was there. He was there. Just like his son was there. Eric Trump and his wife was there. Giuliani was there. And he's there inciting insurrection. The president of the United States, you heard it with your own mouth. He said, we're not worried about the Democrats, though I still worry had they gotten their hands on a Nancy Pelosi, AOC even, that scares me. Right. So, but we're not worried about the Democrats. We want to intimidate the Republicans that aren't going along with my coup. Yeah. Right. He's literally telling them to march to the Capitol, John, to intimidate Republicans.
Right. And there was some very, important things to point out that he said there. Okay.
I'm going to fill up my coffee. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right. He says, we need election reform quickly before we have no country left. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't nod and wink after that. Hey guys, before we have no country left, you know what to do. Fight like hell, he said. And then he tells them explicitly, we are going to the Capitol. Here, let me fire you up. Let me, get you all fired up, get you all emotional. Let me, intimate that, you should fight like hell. That, hey, we might not have a country left. And then, hey, let's go to the Capitol. What does he think's going to happen? He knows what's going to happen. He knows what he's doing in that moment. I mean, it's just plain and simple. And then, so he doesn't go to the Capitol. He said, let's go to the Capitol, that he's going to go with him. He lets the mob go to the Capitol, and then he goes in and gets on the TV. And the reports is when the violence and they were breaking into the Capitol was going on, he was reveling in it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no escaping that, right? There's no, and that's why all this talk is happening now of impeachment, is because of that moment. Now, if he'd have just sat his fat ass in the White House all day, not went down to that rally, not said those words, despite everything he had said on Twitter, he'd probably be okay. But he didn't. He had to go and do that. He had to rile up those people because he's been hyping the 6th as the day. This is the day we take our country back. He incited insurrection against sitting members of the opposing legislation.
And I just want to.
That's crazy.
I just want to remind everybody too. Knock edited that. There was much more that he said.
It was an hour long, dude. It was an hour long speech. I mean, and he was right there in the crowd, Stephanie. Wasn't no hologram. I'm going to have some fun with you, Stephanie, but I bet you're one of those people that believe that when Jesus comes back, that conspiracy about the hologram and shit and the government using Jesus. I know some conspiracies. That's funny, but nothing funny about what we're talking about. And I think that it's important that we show that and we don't forget that it was Trump that incited what happened 2 days ago. Go ahead, John.
Hey, well, no, just saying hello to Papalopoulos and wanted to say hi to Mama Atheist. Of course, we said hi to Stephanie. Native Atheist is here. Ronan and a bunch of people that are always here. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Usually, it seemed like we've got pretty good viewership for a political stream. Now I understand this is hot, but people usually don't like my political streams. So thank you for being here. We've got more. We've got a lot more. Now, I've been talking about Marcus Rogers a lot lately, haven't I, John? I mean, we've been talking about Marcus Rogers. Do you think Marcus Rogers was there?
I think that he may have carpooled with C.J. Cox
Maybe.
And what the hell's that? Hashtag John Maddox was a grifter. You might not think about it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so let me do this.
As a matter of fact,
go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, as a matter of fact, now that I just did that this time, from now on, anytime I refer to that person, I'm not going to just use their name. They are now known as hashtag John Maddox is a grifter.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. Like has become. It's so much better than Mad Ducks.
Right. It saves time too. Instead of saying his name and then saying the hashtag, he's just the hashtag.
Yeah, he's just the hashtag. But all right, so yes. The answer is yes. Marcus Rogers was there. Now, I don't think Marcus went into the Capitol. I don't think Marcus should face any kind of consequences for being there, for being part of the protest. Again, if you didn't storm the Capitol, in my opinion, you didn't really commit a crime. You were practicing your First Amendment rights, whether it's a stupid cause, but it's the people that went the extra step. That's completely different. So I'm not trying to say, Marcus Rogers is in any way culpable for any crimes. That's not. I just thought it was funny that he was there. No surprise.
And the other thing is too is like you said, like hey, if people were just there, being peaceful and protesting, they have every right to do that, no matter how unintelligent and butt-ass stupid they are.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that in. But yeah, anybody, not only the people that actually made it into the Capitol, but every person that was on the Capitol steps pressing up against the building, attempting to
on the
get
scaffolding, all of that.
Yeah, they all have to be prosecuted.
Well, and see, I'm a little bit different there than John. I think that they should make examples of the public faces now, like the QAnon shaman I covered yesterday. Definitely the guy that was at the podium, the people ruffling through offices, breaking glass. I mean, we got their pictures. I mean, that they're idiots for doing it because we know who all of them are. But I don't think you go crazy with prosecuting everybody. What I think you do is you should focus on the people that incited it. Make future politicians think twice about doing what Donald Trump did. I think that that's the most important thing here. And that shows all of these people something as well. Right.
And that's why something has to happen to Trump too.
Yeah. So that's, I understand that even the people on the scaffolding, they were doing damage, right? That scaffolding was there for the inauguration. They fucked that shit up. But like, I think going too heavy handed here will only rile up this 30 to 40% of Americans even more. So I think that we really need to start. How do we start showing these people that they're just wrong, get them back into the fold of sanity? I mean,
and the thing is too, and in no way am I advocating this, but there's a lot of less free countries in the world that had its citizens storm the Capitol. They would have opened up on them with automatic weapons.
Well, yeah. And the response, I definitely want to talk about the response because I find that atrocious. Now, I don't have the pictures queued up, but what I would say, just go back and watch and look at the police presence as Black Lives Matter protesters marched on the Capitol. Never did what happened 2 days ago, but marched on the Capitol. Look at all the police there. And then remember what happened 2 days ago. And there's going to be a probe into this, as I said, because it is apples and oranges.
Yeah.
No. If that had been Black Lives Matter protesters and not Trump people, there would have been 1,000 police at that Capitol, and they would have never gotten inside.
And the thing is too is they can't say that they weren't warned. I mean, law enforcement and the auspices of the military and the president's the people that protect the president, they have online presences. They monitor all the online social media to find out what people are thinking and doing. And this was all over social media for 2 months? as far as Donald Trump, fomenting violence and nod, wink, wink, go do this, and then and it only amped up in the last month. I mean, the law enforcement and the government agencies responsible for protecting the Capitol, they knew some shit was going to go down Wednesday.
Yeah. And before we get into this, thank you again, Jeremy Pace, for your $5 donation. Anyone else notice the same people rioting in D.C. are the same ones against the peaceful BLM protests and call what they did patriotism? Did you see what Mad Dog and Betsy DeVos said about Trump? I haven't seen Mad Dog, but I did see Betsy DeVos' resignation. And yeah, so they're fleeing. Thank you so much, Jeremy Pace. Let me get this back up because I want to get. Go ahead, John, but I really want to start playing this because I've had it on for like 5 minutes.
Is that I just want to point. I don't know. Remember if you mentioned this at the beginning of the stream or if we were talking about it before it went on air, but yeah, it's like these cabinet people. It's almost like you can't give them credit for resigning because it's too little, too late. And if they really wanted to fix the problem that they helped create, they should be staying in the cabinet and doing the 25th Amendment or whatever, staying around and
they shouldn't be allowed to save their reputations. All of them should be remembered. All of them have blood on their hands. Coronavirus. They allowed this to happen. They knew he was guilty during the last impeachment. They knew it. They just didn't give a fuck. They knew that he impeded that impeachment. They didn't give a fuck. Yeah, they all have blood on their hands.
Godless Granny, what did I do to piss you off? She says the thumbnail is John the horse Trump rode in on. I hope you're not saying fuck Trump and the horse he rode in on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you are a horse. You are a horse face, John.
Yeah, I'm funny with her. She knows.
All right, I'm going to throw this on. We're going to watch this. This is funny. This is the funny part of the stream. So the rest isn't going to be funny.
They're about to go in. They're about to go in. These guys about to go in.
See, I like this perspective, right? So this perspective, you see that Pelosi is Satan.
Yeah.
Here, let me turn this off, and we're not going to talk long. So I'm going to play it for a few minutes, and then we're going to get out of the Marcus Rogers thing and move on to the Trump supporters that are there and their support for what's happening. But I think that this offers, for one, a perspective that you haven't really seen too much. Is after the riot police do get there, before they move in on all these people, just seeing that presence build up. But you do see this element of the people that were there at this protest. I do not think that Marcus Rogers participated in going into the Capitol, but he's there and he's watching this take place and he believes all this stupid shit. We've covered it. But I think it's important for that element that there were two elements here. There were people there just to protest, to say, hey, this is messed up, whether, just stupid people, but still. And then there were the people that stormed the Capitol. Those are two different elements.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, just so you know, if anyone wants to go over and check it out after the fact, the day of Sassy Heathen did a live stream, and she actually, everything she showed, she had a grid up on her screen of like half a dozen different streams, all from protesters' perspective.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
we watched during her stream. We watched the police presence build up, and then actually watched when the National Guard got there and they formed their line and they started forcing everybody back. And yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we'll watch just a minute or so of this, and then we'll move on to the next one, because the next one is Trump supporters saying, hell yeah, we agree with this shit. So, all right.
It's crazy.
See, like, you could tell he's kind of stunned by all of it, Says somebody just got shot. Where's my mouse at? All right, and the death toll is up to 4 people now. So, just to put that out there, because I've been talking to one person, but it is now officially 4 people died. But yeah, we're done with that one. So go ahead, John.
Well, and the other thing I heard too, that there was a cop that got beaten by the crowd that died. Was one of the people that died.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said, I mean, it just made me kind of chuckle because you said you can see on his face he looks stunned by what's going on, and my question to you is, how can you tell? I mean, Marcus always has that same normal resting bitch face.
Well, because of what he was mumbling under his breath, I could probably hear it better than you because I've got my headphones on and stuff. But he was like, "Man, this is crazy," and it's just that, yeah. At one point during it, he says, "It's like a Batman movie." I should have got it to that part because that was a funny part of the video, like a Batman movie. But they did have the good riot shit on when they finally got there.
Yeah, Lady Starfire says 5 have died.
Oh, 5 people now. Wow. See. All right, so we're gonna get into the next one, John. This is Trump supporters. So I'm gonna put this up for you. This is a CNN. I got this off of CNN.
Absolutely.
So, fake news.
We should have gone on in and yanked our senators out by the hair of the head and drug them out and said, no more.
Let's go. Hey, let's go.
Trump supporters, not Antifa, saying we should have pulled out senators by their hair. What are you going to do with them then? Are you going to tar and feather them? Are you going to dismember them? Are you going to hold a trial? What are you going to do then? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, but no, man. That was not no goddamn Trump supporter.
That old lady was Antifa.
That was an Antifa in a costume. They went down to, make yourself look like a right-wing redneck.com and ordered a costume. And, she was clearly an Antifa.
Yeah, and you had reports of, because people were talking about, reporters were talking about this, how this was a different, quote unquote, protest than they'd ever seen, because usually protests are activists. Activists tend to be young. Black Lives Matter. Protests, a vast majority of those people are going to be between the ages of 18, 16 even, to say 28, right? These are a bunch of 40 and 50-year-old white people. So not an Antifa protest by any means. Now, I'm going to even grant the possibility that there was Antifa there agging shit on, because that's kind of what both sides do to each other. But these were clearly Trumpers agged on, told what to do by the President of the United States.
Right. And given that premise by you, one thing I know damn sure of is, even if Knock is right, when the crowd pressed up against the Capitol building and broke into it, there weren't no Antifa there then.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what Antifa would have put themselves between that crazed mob and the Capitol building? They wouldn't.
Well, yeah, and it's actually being reported that the Antifa didn't show in counter protest. That their presence was actually very minute compared to what was expected their presence to be during this protest. And that is being reported, on a wide range of news sites. So the Antifa presence was low. Now, again, I'll grant the possibility that there was some Antifa dressed up agitating. That happens on both sides. But this is clearly, like, you saw the president's son. Go look at the things Giuliani said during that fucking rally. I mean, Giuliani needs to be prosecuted with everybody else for inciting this shit.
Well, I mean, so the other thing is, was Trump and Trump Jr., were they Antifa too? Was Stephanie Wright? Was that?
And granting the premise does not say, I'm not saying that Antifa was there. I don't think they were. I think this was all Trump.
Yeah. I mean, did they think that Trump was Antifa too? Like, is Stephanie Wright, was that a movie projector screen and that was an Antifa pretending to be Trump? I mean, you can say whatever you want about. You can say whatever you want about Antifa, maybe being there, maybe not being there. But like Noctis pointed out, this was mostly fomented by Trump and his son. By Trump over the last few months, by both Trump and his son during the rally. So Yeah, it's you can't.
And if they were going to use holograms, don't you think that they would have put holograms of Antifa up there? They can't even do that right. Fucking Trumpers. All right, let's watch some more of this, John.
Entire D.C. National Guard. Thousands of troops here in the nation's capital. The entire National Guard has been activated by the U.S. Department of Defense following this mob that has attacked the U.S. Capitol.
Are you proud of what happened here today?
I'm absolutely stand behind 100% what happened here today. 1,000%. I think it's terrible how this election was stolen. And I had to come here and do my patriotic duty.
Was that Antifa, John? Was that Antifa?
Well, if that was an Antifa, then they deserve a fucking Oscar.
Yeah,
they deserve an Academy Award. For acting.
Best acting job in the history. All right, let's watch some more. Fake news, CNN.
You guys just left the Capitol grounds?
Yep.
Are you proud of the scenes that played out here today?
I'm not proud of it. I'm humbled by it, and that I'm excited that for 1776, that We the People movement is moving forward. It's sad. It's sad that it has to happen.
Are you proud of what?
1776. That was the revolution, right? So their movement is no longer Stop the Steal. It's 1776. It's revolution.
Yeah, I mean, and
go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, so how disgusting of a person do you have to be to try and compare this to the revolution that got our country started? I mean, there's no comparison at all.
Yeah, none whatsoever. None. All right, I think that it's enough of that one. Let me get us back up here onto the right screen. All right, enough of that one. We don't need to see too much of the stupid. What we do need to see is those responsible. So we're gonna watch the press secretary first, John. We're gonna watch, the day after. You would think, all the fallout, right? You had Mitch McConnell's wife resigned. Mulaney, whatever that douchebag's name is, he resigned. Betsy DeVos resigned. You have Trump loyalist senators in droves now coming out talking about, Trump's insane, right? Ted Cruz came out and said, I've spoken against Trump's rhetoric for 4 years. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. So
thrown under the bus.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham. So we're seeing the Republican Party has broken away from Trump. This is Trump's undoing. Trump undid himself. So we need to focus on the people responsible, and not just Trump, but the enablers, right?
Well, and this first one you're going to show is press secretary. Now, I'm sure, as you can imagine, because she is such a stand-up person of courage that. I mean, she stuck around for like 45 minutes afterward and fielded questions from the press. I mean, so you'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure that she said all the right things and stood and took questions and stood the fire, right? Stood in the fire, because we just saw her president, the person she speaks for, incite this riot. I'm sure she's going to answer all of those questions, John.
Right. Well, and the thing is put her right in there with Trump. She was inciting this and fomenting all these ill feelings for the last 2 months as well.
Agreed. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, so I'm going to throw this up. It's not very long. We'll watch it.
I am here to deliver this message on behalf of the entire White House. Let me be clear. The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's capital was appalling, reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way. We condemn it, the president and this administration, in the strongest possible terms.
All right, that didn't take long. All right, so, John, this is clearly the Trump administration throwing their supporters under the bus, running over them, and then backing up running over them again, just to run over them again.
Yeah, I mean, they're throwing them under the bus after they did exactly what they told them to do.
After they made this happen. Yep. Trump's for weeks. January 6th, bring your tents.
And who is that again?
Kelly McEnany or whatever her name is.
Oh, so that's the press secretary?
Yep.
Wait a minute. Are you sure that's her?
Yes, John. I'm positive.
Well, the reason I can't recognize her, she's not holding up a ream of paper.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, look, isn't she supposed to hold up a ream of paper and say, "Here's all the fake votes"?
Yep, all the affidavits. All of these people are enablers. Every single person in Congress during impeachment that voted not to convict, they're all enablers. Like, they'll be remembered through history. They supported an attempted coup. Now, we'll find out about it. We'll find out if what happened with the police there. They're going to do a probe into that, and they should. But it's clear that the president of the United States whipped up a mad, angry mob, try to utilize that mob to intimidate his own party into doing his will. That's fucking, history. And all you senators with blood on your hands are latched to that forever now, and we should make sure that happens. Lindsey Graham, you don't get to get away. Ted Cruz, you don't get to get away. Mitch McConnell, you don't get to get away. Hell no.
So, Ox, I got to give you some bad news, man. He says, when I look at John in this video, I feel like I'm looking in the mirror a few years from now. Actually, I lived a rough life. I'm only in my late 20s.
Yeah, I'm losing my baby face. It sucks. It sucks. But all right, let's watch some more of this, John. It's not going to be too much longer.
It is unacceptable, and those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I stood here at this podium the day after a historic church burned amid violent riots, and I said this: the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What we saw last night in Washington and across the country was not that, end quote. Make no mistake, what we saw yesterday afternoon in the halls of our Capitol likewise was not that. We grieve for the loss of life and those injured, and we hold them in our prayers and close to our hearts at this time. We thank our valiant law enforcement officers who are true American heroes. What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters undermining the legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to peacefully have their voices heard in our nation's capital. Those who violently besieged our capital are the opposite of everything this administration stands for. The core value of our administration is the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom. Those who are working in this building are working to ensure an orderly transition of power. Now it is time for America to unite, to come together, to reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God. Thank you very much.
So no acknowledgement of the president's actions, no acknowledgement that the president caused that, completely throwing their rabid supporters, the supporters that they have made rabid over years of outright lies and misinformation. Just throw them under the bus.
Can you take that up?
Yep, go ahead, John.
So, I hate to call somebody out for this, but just from what I've learned about her since she's, been part of the administration, she says they grieve for the loss of life. No, they don't. No, they don't. Things happen the way they wanted them to, the way she wanted them to. She's just saying what she needs to say after what happened. She probably had that speech prepared weeks ago because she probably, already assumed that some people would die on that day. And I know that sounds harsh, but I believe it could very well be true. Calling them violent rioters, Again, that's a covering their ass again. They knew that they were going to be creating some violent rioters right up until the last minute that Trump was on the stage. He and his sycophants in the administration knew what they were doing, knew they were going to create violence. Trump, I'm pretty sure, like Doc alluded to, the people in the administration think he's going nuts, that like he probably up until sometime yesterday still had it in his head that, you know what, my followers are going to take control of the Capitol and they're going to make them senators declare me president.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw his tweet, his tweet as it was transpiring when 2 hours later, when they finally got to him, like, dude, you got to say something here, and he's like, this is what happens when you steal an election.
Yeah. Talk about not being able to read the room. And then she says, what happened was the opposite of what this administration stands for. No, it wasn't, Kelly. That's a bald-faced lie. The administration created this situation. It's not the opposite of what you stand for. It goes right in line with what the administration has stood for 4 years and even before. Donald Trump.
Alan in the side chat, exactly right. I should have queued that clip up. I thought about it. I had a lot of clips, so I didn't. But he says, didn't Rudy say during his speech right before the riot that it was going to be trial by combat? And he did say exactly that. Exactly those words. Trial by combat. And Rudy's been calling for the people to defend their president for months. So yeah, they knew what they were doing. This is classic. This isn't the first time in history, maybe in American history. I'd have to look into that, but we've seen this throughout history's leaders trying to keep power. This is a classic textbook thing that they did here. You rile up the rabid mob and try to utilize it to keep your power. It's a classic technique to make a coup. I mean, this is classic. This is in the playbook.
Well, and the last thing I want to say about her too is that she ended with, before she ran off stage like the coward she is. Now we're just focused on an orderly transition of power. 2 months too late, bitch. Okay, I mean, you should have been working towards an orderly transition of power 2 days after the election.
Yeah, I mean, way too late for any of this. And that's why I say this is the end of Trump. This is the end of Trumpism, right? So the Republican Party is going to be scrambling to kind of reorder itself, right? What we have to worry about is that next leader that's going to step up and try to fill Trump's shoes, because Trump is done. He doesn't see it yet. We're about to watch it. We're about to watch this edited horror job that he released yesterday, and we'll let the audience decide. Is it a concession? Isn't it a concession? Trumpers don't seem to think it's a concession. We'll talk about all of it, John. I'm going to throw it up on the screen for you. Get us over there. And here we go. Probably not the best one I could have got, but it should be going. No, maybe. Yeah, it's going. Let's just pause for a second.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth.
Well, thank you so much, Paul Camish. $10 donation, just a little something to help out. Thank you so much. I forgot I put that little gift there for that.
Smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism.
All right, so there's probably a little bit more. We'll watch it, but outside of the cuts, do you hear the slurred speech, John? That has been an indication of mental decline for a long time, and we've talked about it a long time. But here I think you see it clearly, and I'm wondering if the cuts weren't so much that he was saying a lot of crazy stuff, although I'm sure he probably was still throwing some stuff in there. If they weren't cutting it out to make it, I don't know, to where you can understand it, because like he's clearly showing either some mental fatigue or some mental decline here, the way he's slurring those words, like he's doing here. You're muted, John.
No, what I just said is God bless the United States of America. I don't know if you remember that one, but yeah, I can hear that in his voice. Didn't really pay any attention to it before. I was so focused on the horrible words, and now we see, firsthand what I was talking about earlier. Okay, so he's giving a concession speech. He talks about a new administration on the 20th, doesn't mention Joe Biden's name, doesn't congratulate him. That's not a concession speech, okay? Also, he's still dog whistling to his people, because he opened up by calling them demonstrators, okay? No, they weren't demonstrators. They were rioters, just like Kelly had said. And then he goes on to co-sign their behavior. Well, defending democracy, we need election reform. Now is the time for healing and reconciliation. Yeah, he didn't mean that at all. But like the two prior things, defend democracy. They were defending democracy. We need election reform. He is, rationalizing what happened by saying things.
Well, he's definitely throwing his supporters under the bus. You guys are just rabid dogs. I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. But I was just, I was trying to save America.
Right. I mean, but that's what I'm saying is like, yeah, you're right. He's throwing his people under the bus, but it's almost like, but nod, wink, wink. All you're doing was trying to save democracy. I mean, it's like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. And that's why I think a lot of supporters are still behind him.
Well, yeah, his supporters thinks he's playing chess here. When he's clearly just a dude defeated, and he knows it.
And then he brings up the pandemic. Okay, here's the thing about the pandemic. Okay, and I would never say that all the deaths are on Trump, because no matter how whoever had been in power, no matter how it got handled, there still would have been people that would have died. But a great majority of the deaths in this country are on Donald Trump's head. Period. He did not handle this at all. He portrayed it as a hoax. He portrayed it as a, not that big a deal for months when he knew different. We heard that when it finally came out. He had told that one reporter in an interview at the beginning of the year how he knew how serious it was, and he didn't treat it seriously.
Yeah. So, I mean, so much blood on his hands. It's unfortunate that it took a literal act of insurrection for him to be finished. Like it should have never taken that long. The man should have never been elected to begin with. He should. The moment he didn't release his tax returns, the moment he. What did he? I can't remember what he said to Hillary during that debate, but like the moment he said that thing to Hillary during that debate, that should have been like a disqualifier. The moment, like when he brought in Linda Tripp and all the women that accused Bill Clinton of sexual harassment 15 years ago, but ignored the question of 18 women sexually harassed that he sexually harassed, a 16-year-old girl that he allegedly raped. He should have been disqualified then. He should have been disqualified with the hot mic video that came out right before the election. Like, it's
yeah. I mean, there were so many things that happened during the campaign, not just those debates, but there was how many things while the campaign was going on where people like you and me, well, we didn't know each other at the time, but like, I'm sure you were saying the same things I was. Like,
I was on. It was my first YouTube channel. Like, my first video that hit 1,000 views was a video. It was like a 5-minute video I did with just me and my webcam, and it was called "I think Donald Trump was on cocaine in that debate last night."
Well, and the thing is I don't know how many times during the campaign. Okay, well that did it, man. He's going nowhere, and I must have said that, half a dozen or a dozen times during the campaign. And then he just kept getting more and more popular and moving along even further. And then even when he was the nominee, I'm like, he'd do something, I'd be like, oh, well, that's the end of him right
Me
there,
too. Yeah, I mean, all the things he's done as president, like he should have been ended with the Mueller report, right? Like he should have been ended with impeachment. Like this man it should have never gotten to the point. It's really sad that it took us getting to an insurrection in this country. Like, and we shouldn't even really be surprised. I mean, we saw this building up. We saw it here in Michigan, right? Like they stormed our Capitol. We're going to try to kidnap our governor, murder her in the Capitol, right? Like, holy fuck. That happened 4 months ago, 5 months ago, right? Like we've seen this build up, this violence building up for a very, very long time. I grew up with Confederates saying the South will rise again. What does that mean? Another fucking civil war where we get to reinstitute slavery, right? Like that's what it fucking means. And now they've incorporated this. Trumpism has taken over all of that. All of that. Like you saw the Confederate flags in the Capitol, John. We've all seen that now. These Confederates, Trump is their guy. That's his movement. But let's watch the last little bit because there's just like maybe a minute left, maybe.
Good people on both sides.
Yeah, very fine people on both sides. All right, let's go.
Patriotism, faith, charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
See, and there the delusion comes out because he does still think that he's going to be viable now, right? Like you've seen that right there. He thinks he's going to be viable. He's not going to be viable after this. He'll be lucky if he's not really in prison. I was always skeptical, even with the Southern District thing, that this man would actually end up in prison after his presidency. Now I think it's like 50-50. I think there's a pretty good chance. But let me take it off the screen for you, John. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I just want to say this too, is, like you and I have talked about it. I mean, it turned out Joe was the right one to run against him. He won, but there's things that, there's even more things that you don't really like Joe about, even more than me.
I can't wait till I can start actually criticizing Joe. But I think Bernie would have been stronger during this whole thing, during this whole Stop the Steal thing than Joe's been.
But if one thing that if he does it, which has happened in the past with, other situations similar to this, if he pardons Trump, he's gonna get a lot of ire for that.
I mean, that would be like political suicide for him, I think.
Yeah. He says, this has been the honor of my life or whatever. I mean, I give him a little credit that pretty much is a concession there. But then directly after that, our journey really is just beginning. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? Okay.
He thinks he's going to go on and start that news network, and he's gonna be the president de facto for the Republican part of the country and run a shadow government. And these crazy lunatics that just stormed the Capitol, which was not Antifa but a bunch of QAnon fucking insane people, that these people are going to be his army moving forward. That's the dog whistle there. Like, this motherfucker actually thinks he's still going to have some political capital after this, and I'm telling you, I don't think so, because I think he's going to be impeached. I think he's going to be removed one way or the other. I think the Republican Party has now turned on him, and he is alone amongst millions of insane people, and it's going to be a shit show.
I mean, if for any 24 fans out there, all I can really think of when I look at him now is Charles Logan from the 24 series, the season 5, the president Charles Logan, that was such a, criminal motherfucker, man.
I have no idea what.
Yeah, you never watched 24?
I watched like the first season, I think. I've never been a big TV guy. You know what I watch, John. You know what I'm a Survivor guy.
What did you think about Alone?
Pretty good, man. I've enjoyed it. I'm probably gonna watch an episode or two before work. Pretty good show. But let's talk about the supporters, because the supporters, I somewhat feel bad for them. Because people have been talking about the stupidity of America for a long time. America has a lot of stupid people. They go about their lives. They get out of high school. They don't continue educating themselves. They don't really watch national news too much. In fact, I would say Trump probably brought a lot of people into getting into the national political conversation that were never part of it before. And I feel somewhat bad. And hear me out here, because they fell for this guy, right? Like, for some reason, somehow they fell for this guy. They thought that this guy was going to change the government that they see as corrupt. Now, seeing the government as corrupt, issues with government, that's a bipartisan thing, my dude. That's why populism is so appealing to everybody, is because you can really bring people together with that, because we can all see that the government's fucking corrupt. So you get sucked into it, and then this guy is put into a position of authority. This madman, this mad king, is put into a position of authority, and you believe him because you've been taught to believe the president your whole life, because people are stupid and they're followers and they're not leaders. So I somewhat feel for them, but at the same time, goddammit, you're grown-ass adults that should know better. So, my sympathy only goes so far. And I would say the same to, I say the same shit when our protests get out of hand. I say the same exact thing. I'm very consistent with it. This is just idiocy. Stop being stupid. And so my sympathy with them only goes so far, but they still believe in him. Even after being thrown under the bus, they're saying that it was Antifa. They're saying, as we saw in the side chat, that wasn't Trump. That was a hologram, probably from Antifa. Right?
That's definitely, I think, was
I would hope so. But, I mean, it's just, you've seen their justifications already. They're going to follow this man, but he's done. So what we have to worry about really isn't Donald Trump anymore. It's that next guy. Is it going to be Howley? Which one of these guys is going to try to step into the shoes of Trump and take over this movement? That's the guy we've got to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, it could be Donald Trump Jr. It could be, there's a lot of viable people from that side to run next time, and they're certainly not going to ignore that Trump base. They may not pick up the mantle and run it exactly as Trump did, but they will definitely, be referring to that base in some way and trying to stay tight with them.
Yeah. And they're going to be trying to reorganize their party. Hopefully they go in the right direction. And I think we should always hold them accountable, but we should give the Republican leadership hopefully time to bring their party at least back into more moderate grounds. Even Tea Party levels at this point would be welcome, right? Like, but I mean, hopefully they would go back to their roots and be true conservatives and have those libertarian roots to where you stand for small government, and we can have those real, true political arguments again instead of focusing on hot button issues that's going to make people very divisive, and that's fundamentally the problem with the Republican Party. Way before Trump comes in, and hopefully they'll fix that. I don't think that's going to happen. But I know that we can't let it distract us, the left, from fixing our own shit. So I'm really looking forward to actually being able to now stop defending Joe Biden so much and start attacking this establishment at the DNC, because that's my true enemy. Really, fuck the right. We've defeated their fascism. Now let's look at our own.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right too. I mean, especially now with what happened in the Senate, now is the time to, instead of using your word to fix them, which is a correct word, we need to start pushing the Democrats further to the left.
Well, that's what I hope. That's what I hope. That's my goal. My intention is institute political change through peaceful means instead of revolutionary tactics. So policy by policy, grassroots campaign by grassroots campaign, get people farther to the left as a true representation of what the left base is, especially now because young people, they ain't afraid of the word socialism. Not at all. And they're far more socialist than I am.
Yeah, so real quick from the chat. Yeah. No, Stupid War Energy, that's not one of Knox's sock accounts. I believe that's a Will, whatever the fuck that dude's name is, shit stain. Will.
At least from that crowd, probably.
What's his last name? Will what? Will fuckface? I don't remember. I think it starts with an F. But yeah, I'm interested with the people that have been interacting with Harry P. Ness. Great name. My guess is that is Will Kincaid. But who do you think it is? It's a sock account of somebody. I say it's Will Kincaid. But anyway,
no,
leave your answers in the chat.
Yeah, I usually don't pay much attention to chat. Sock accounts, I'm used to trolls. I've had so many trolls at this point. It really could be anybody, but fun. All's good and love and war. But I do want to get out of here, John. We have been going for an hour and a half. Man, we had a lot of viewers today. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you guys for watching.
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I think we were over 60 at one point. 62, 63.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty good stream. So, don't forget this. Don't forget that moment before the rally. Don't allow the narrative, even, if Biden wants to, kind of, even if he doesn't pardon Trump, kind of like not do anything about any of this shit. We can't forget this. Because this is going to brew. It's going to fester. We always kind of, it's always been the American strategy to punt. Punt it, we'll take care of this later. We got to stop doing that. We got to stop doing that.
Well, and maybe you're so used to it because of the last fucked up 4 years. But in all reality, the only thing that Joe Biden could do would be the totally wrong thing. It would be to pardon him. As far as anything that the Department of Justice decides, it's totally on their shoulders whether they prosecute him. And the president, it's very untoward of the president to try and say anything about it either way. I know we've seen Donald Trump, stick his finger in the Department of Justice pie all throughout his presidency, but presidents typically do not do that. They're not supposed to.
Yeah, I think that he could only. Yeah, I mean, don't do what Trump did and try to influence your DOJ. Let them make the right, accurate. I actually trust Merrick Garland. It's going to be nice to have an actual attorney general that you could somewhat trust. I mean, there's some issues politically that we would completely disagree on, but a decent, fair dude, I think, that's not going to be too partisan. And he's actually knows his shit. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and it should be up to them. But what I'm talking about is the people can't forget. We can't allow these people. Kentucky needs to get rid of Mitch. I don't forget 4 to 25 years of just blatant misinformation, propaganda, the misleading of you and your children. That should be unforgivable to you. You should be what you should be angry about is not the fact that Democrats stole an election, is that the people you entrusted lied to you and told them that they did. That's what you should be angry about. So, but I do want to get out of here. We've been going an hour and a half. For some reason, the babysitters are asking me if they're watching my daughter tonight, even though I just told them yesterday that they were. So yeah, I got to go deal with dad shit. So, John, any last words?
Yeah, no, I think we said it all.
All right. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, patrons. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll be on CJ's channel sometime in the afternoon, probably 1 o'clock my time. I'm not sure. Maybe 4 my time. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I will say now as a last word, if you are going over to CJ's channel to watch how Knock does, just make sure and bring your oven mitts with you, because CJ's going to have you slapping your head many, many times.
Yeah, hopefully I have enough time to really pull up a lot of what he's been putting on social media, because that's the focus of the conversation. But all right, so we will see you guys tomorrow, probably. I'm sure I'll be able to stream that to my channel as well. So yeah, you guys have a great afternoon. Fuck Trump. Peace.